So I'm not gonna pull all that like fancy content creator bullshit with you and like pretend like everything is just hunky dory. You know how they're like, "Oh, hi, welcome to my channel." That's not really my thing. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. I'm a Sagittarius and I'm an asshole and I like it. Well, everybody says I'm not an asshole. I just always say I'm an asshole, but I kind of feel like an asshole, kind of like I don't know, a mixture of like Louise Belcher, Madam Mim, I'm trying to like uh Winifred, just that era, but I guess I'm not. I'm a spiritual practitioner. And that's something like that's part of this video too. So one of the main things we're going to talk about, I think that you're going to be the most interested in, is the first time I realized what my spirit guide sounded like, right? Or how my spirit guide communicated is the best way to say it. But before that, I want to state, when we talk about spirituality, psychics, witches, there's all of these stereotypes, right? A psychic is looking into a crystal ball all the time, and you don't know what's true or false, or you feel like you're being gypped, or it's not real, or this and that, and they have all these stereotypes. So one of my goals is to kind of break that for you. As a psychic, I think it's fucking weird to be a psychic. I think the closest, okay, recently I rewatched 13 Ghosts with Matthew Lillard, and he's a psychic and he's a psychic medium. And that is the closest I think it is to being a psychic. So when I say it's not that scary, right? It's not that scary to be a psychic by any means. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are times that are pretty creepy. But just to like, no one listens, you kind of know everything that's going on. You're trying to like help people and everybody thinks you're crazy. And like the stress of it all, because the people that do believe you, they end up becoming just a piece of your soul, people you read for as a psychic. And once I read for someone, it's strange because they know me. They know that I care about them and we connect. So if you have a psychic experience and you don't connect with that psychic right off the bat, like, you need to feel a kindred type spirit thing. So when I say that, I'm talking about psychics that are like, I don't even, just the stereotypical, right? And if you feel like something's off, walk away from it, because that psychic may not be for you. They could not be a real psychic, X, Y, and Z. But there are psychics out there for everyone. Somebody might be watching me going, that lady is out there. And there might be some people watching me thinking, I like this lady. She seems to get where I'm going. And I'm okay with both. I'm okay with in the middle. But it's important for you to understand everybody's journey is different. Okay, so we have to break the stereotypes. And I've met witches that are Christian witches. And some people are like, what the hell's a Christian witch? Or a follower of Jesus that's a witch. Or I've met a Muslim witch. All kinds of like those ranges that people would never think, because they automatically put witch with against Christianity and Satanism and witchcraft, paganism. Some people put witch and druid together. There's all these different variations of things. They're so separate. So witchcraft and the notion of paganism and all those things came before Christianity. And actually Christianity, in order to get pagans to begin to follow Christianity, kind of stole a bunch of stuff from paganism. And that's why Jehovah's Witnesses, and you guys can please correct me if I'm not a Jehovah's Witness, so please correct me if I'm incorrect. They don't celebrate holidays because they believe a lot of it came from paganism. So for instance, Christmas trees, that's part of the winter solstice, and it's one of the few green things that's left, and you decorate the tree, it feeds the birds, and it sends out blessings and givings to Mother Earth, and that the sun is coming soon, right? The Yule log brings light. Santa Claus is a Christian concept that came from paganism, as Father Winter. We go to Easter. The eggs are a sign of fertility. The rabbit is a sign of fertility that came from Easter. You can look all of these things up. And the rising of Jesus, replicates the bringing of spring, the bringing, like the resurrection of spring and earth. So all of these things are kind of intertwined. And so it's really important, once again, going back to the point, that you follow your own spiritual journey. So some things I say may ring with you. You may feel them in your soul. Other things I say, you may think, that's not for me, but it makes me think of something else and helps me do this. And that's been a big problem with religion in itself, is religion gives you these rules and says, if you break these, this is it, this is over. That's why spirituality feels so weird to people, because it doesn't have the same rules and regulations. And that's because souls, each and every soul is different. Every single person is different. They are like an individual, beautiful snowflake. And no snowflake is the same way no fingerprint is the same. And we all have a different spiritual journey in order to accomplish things on this earth. So something I believe and feel and think is not going to be something you believe, feel, and think. It's just not how it's going to function. It's not how it's going to work. But, as long as you are coming from a place of love and healing, that is what is valuable. When you come from anger and hatred and those emotions are needed. Don't get me wrong. But a couple of my steadfast rules in spirituality. So when I say steadfast, I mean, I would never make anybody feel bad for not following or abiding by how I feel. The only things I for sure will not tolerate is anyone hurting verbally, physically. Like I don't believe in people hurting one another or hurting living things, or just being outright disrespectful. None of those things are going to fly with me. So if you are any of those things, like, sorry, but no. Okay, those are my actual limits. So, like, if you're a fucking racist, if you are one of those people that's like super like evangelical Christian and you're like, all gays are going to hell, like, nope, yeet, you gotta fucking go. Like, I'm not dealing with that bullshit. So along those lines, you get what I mean. But this is why coming from love is so important. Because when you come from love of others and yourself first and foremost, you have to love yourself. You have to know, who you really are, what you like, what you love, what you hate, and we hate things. Hate is real. Hate is valid. See, people talk about ego deaths, and there are ego deaths. I'm not going to lie about that, but we are always going to have an ego. An ego death is very simply doing shadow work and ceasing or coming up with better ideas to reach your better self. That's an ego death. So one ego death I can give you an example of, and this is when I met my spirit guide. So I was working in corporate America, and I had really gone down a spiritual path. I was divorced, and I was with my current partner, and I was working through my divorce stuff because I had cheated on my partner. I had cheated on my ex. And my ex was emotionally abusive, and so was his family. And that's not an excuse, but one thing I always want to talk about with trauma, takes two to tango. So I was working through my guilt. I was working through all the mistakes I had made, and when I say mistakes, I mean, if I could go back in time and change things, I would, but I don't regret anything. So there's a difference between, would you change it? Yeah, but I don't regret it, because I was so broken and I didn't realize how bad I was being abused. And when I went to see a therapist, they told me, I went there because this was right after, during my divorce. I had tried to end my existence, and it's hard to talk about, but this is important and I really want to share it with you guys. I went to a therapist and I said, I feel so guilty for everything that I did, that I can't live with the guilt because I hurt someone so deeply that I can't live with the guilt. And that was huge. That was huge for me, because the guilt just ate me alive. And even though I loved the partner that I'm with now, and I was in love with this person, but I was upset that I had hurt the person that I was with, right? So it was just a messed up thing. And I thought if I wasn't here anymore, I didn't have to feel this way and I could just leave the situation, which was selfish. I didn't realize it at the time. I thought it was the best thing for everybody because I was not mentally there. I had not taken care of trauma. I did not understand how broken I was. Well, the therapist, when I explained all this to her, she looks at me and she says, Samantha, was everything perfect when you cheated? And I said, no. And she said, okay. She said, so do you think that everything you did was just because everything was perfect? And I said, no. And she said, it takes two to tango. Now, should you have done what you've done? No, that was painful and it wasn't the right way to handle things. But why do you think you were so broken? Why do you think you let things get to this point where you just broke? And I really had to think about that. I did the shadow work, and that's what it's called, guys. So when you work through trauma, if you've ever heard the term shadow work is working through trauma to reach your better self, to understand why you made bad decisions, why you hurt someone, why you aren't doing everything you've ever wanted to do, why you don't feel like you're worthy, etc., right? Anything you would see a therapist for or get a self-help book for or anything like that really is shadow work. And if you have questions about that, guys, you can email me at fairygoodintentions@gmail.com or ask a question below. That would be great. I could do a response to it or anything. So just questions, how you ever want to ask them. But so I was working through that shadow work, and I had been doing it for a couple years. After the therapy and stuff, I ended up getting a job out in Arizona, and I moved from Kentucky to Arizona, it was time for me to grow in my career, but it was also to be clear, like to exit some of the stress and the drama, because everything was over, but me and my ex, we were seeing each other everywhere and it was a mess. And I thought, we both need to heal. I am a Sagittarius. Let me get out of here. Let me travel. Let me do what I'm going to do. This is not a commercial, but I absolutely love these. And I have lupus, so I can't have a lot of sugar and carbs, but there's only like 10 grams of sugar in here, and it has green tea extract. Okay, sorry. It's delicious. But so I moved out to Arizona, and the partner, so my partner came with me, and her and I, when we met, it wasn't like, oh, I have to have her. We started out as just friends, and it was like a magnetism. I didn't believe in soulmates, and up until I met her, I didn't really know what happiness was. And I know people say that like they're in love and I didn't know what happiness was, but I mean it. As a spiritual practitioner, she was a stop on the road of my journey of life. And for all of you out there who are with your soulmate, you know exactly what I mean. That magnetism that nothing can break, nothing can hurt. And it's like the moment you met them, you knew something was different. That is this. Because I wouldn't have done what I did if there wasn't, I don't want to say that either, because like what I did was not acceptable. And I've worked, therapy, everything we talked about. But there are parts of your life to where you mess up and you look back and you're like, oh shit, if I hadn't have messed up, I wouldn't be X, Y, and Z. Doesn't mean you're not going to get the karma you deserve. It just means you had to mess up, or there had to be a blockage. Something had to happen for you to fuck up and realize that shit wasn't good. And now that I've went through all of my shadow work and all of that jazz, I realize how unhappy I was. I realize how emotionally abusive their family was. I realize how they kind of fell into it and how I wasn't happy. And because I worked through all of that, and I don't hate my ex or their family or anything like that. Like, I wish them the best of love and luck and beauty and happiness and joy. I really do, because I've worked through that. Because when you've worked through your trauma, you don't wish bad things. You don't want to hurt people. You want people to do the best they can, because you realize the love that was there and the joy that was there. And you both had trauma, and the trauma fucked you both up, right? And that's rough. So moving forward, I worked through that trauma. It took me a couple years. And while that was going on, I was also going through more trauma of being emotionally abused by a director in the company I was working for. And it was like karma had lined up to knock me down, right? And it was like the first like emotional abuse I had been through, like almost took me, period. The second one, I had my partner I'm with now, who's my magnet and my love, and I knew I would never leave, because she ties me. She like, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm suicidal. No, I just mean like, once you have these things in your life that are these pillars and these things, it's like they keep you here. They make you stronger and better, and they make you realize that your higher self is here for a reason. And my partner helped me realize how important and valid I am. And that's fucking beautiful. And so I was working through that trauma, and then getting emotionally abused by a director for the company I worked for. I ended up getting sick from stress, and did a bunch of tests, and finding out I have lupus. More than likely brought on by stress. So anyway, I'm sick, and I'm working through all this. I'm doing all of these things. And like, when I didn't realize, I guess, like, how sick I was and what was going on and all of these things. I didn't realize at the time. But I was working so hard. I was working so hard to be the best person I could be. I know that. That's what was happening. I was working through the trauma, the stress, the grossness. And I'm clairsentient and claircognizant. Okay, clairsentient means I get the feelings. Claircognizant means I just know. And for a while, quite a while, I had been getting just knowing things. I just knew things were going to happen. And I was working, I had gotten a couple decks of tarot cards and was messing around with tarot cards. And they started to confirm what I knew. And things started to unfold with people around me. And I was like, oh shit, I've always known this stuff. Always. So that had been happening for a while. The knowing, the feeling, knowing someone's pregnant, at work, knowing like people were being bad to me, or knowing how things were going to turn out. I'm trying to give more examples. Like the road was in front of me, and it wasn't completely clear. It was like dark of night road with these little candles. And I was like, oh shit, I can see that's going to happen. And I can see that's going to happen. And look at that. Like, that's kind of what it was like for quite some time. Well, my whole life pretty much. And it just got brighter. So I'm working, I'm meditating, and really focusing on, I listen to high frequency music when I meditate, and I'm really focusing on some really beautiful music. It's actually called Weightless by Marconi Union, and I always recommend it to everybody who's starting out to wants to meditate. Just listen to it and relax. So I wasn't doing a hardcore meditation or anything. I was relaxing, sitting with my eyes closed, and I want to set the scene. I was in my apartment, and I had this really comfortable seat, and I'm sitting there, and I have this huge table altar in front of me, and I have a snake plant, I have all of my crystals, I have my candles lit, I have incense, I have beautiful flower petals. I mean, I'm just trying to immerse myself in the experience. I had smoked a little bit of Mary, and I was just relaxing. I wasn't out of my mind or anything. I was just really relaxed and listening to the music and focusing. And um in my mind, I get pictures, right? You know how in your mind, when you close your eyes, like you get, not necessarily, I don't want to say like photographs in your mind, but you get images and you know what they are. And I have always wanted confirmation from my spirit guides. I had been working so long in meditation and doing, spell work, and I came in all divination, anything I could do to get them to, like, for me to actually, like, hear them. And I knew when you get any message, it's from your spirit guides. It's from them. But I wanted to have pure back and forth. I wanted it to be like having a conversation with someone in the room. Is it like that? No. It's just not. And it won't ever be. For me, it won't be. For some people it can be. That's just not my path. That's not my psychic ability. So anyway, I'm meditating, my eyes are closed, and I am just in a pure state of being and imagining white light, and all of a sudden an image comes in my head of wings. Just out of nowhere, and I'm like, wings? Like, and that didn't happen. And I got images at the most random times when you wouldn't expect them. Like, they didn't come during meditation. Meditation was just quiet. There was nothing going on typically, and I would talk, but I didn't feel like anyone answered. Well, I got an image of wings. And I just thought it was me. Just thought it was me. And then I started to get more images of monuments, things I knew in Ireland. I started to get images of, like, things that my parents had told me about our past. And I'm like, what is this? And I started to do research, and coming to find out that one of my past lives was in Ireland, and I wasn't necessarily of this time or land. So that's really interesting. That's for a different video if you're interested. And I started to connect some dots that started to make a lot of sense with my ability. And it scared the shit out of me because I started to get all these little confirmations. So, I had lit a candle and done like a little money spell. And after my spirit guides had started kind of sending me images like that, every spell I would do would come true. Now, not in the way you think it would. So, like, I did a spell for a couple $1,000s. Like, I was like, why not? And I ended up getting a rebate from the electric company for $150. People were like, oh, well, that's a coincidence. Okay. I had a dream that a baby was coming, and then I saw an image of someone. They weren't pregnant, but their best friend was, because I went up to them and said, hey, like, I had this dream X, Y, and Z, even though it wasn't a dream, right? And they were like, no, but blah, blah, blah is. And I knew blah, blah, blah. So things like that started to happen, and I got hair in my mouth, started to happen and occur more frequently and actually line up for confirmation, okay? I would ask for confirmation, and it would actually come, and I would understand it. And then my spirit guide, the one that speaks to me now, and I now can communicate with my deities, communicate with my archangels. I can communicate with your deities, archangels, spirit guides, because I understand, and that's how they communicate with me. So my main spirit guide showed me a person that I know by their name. And I don't like to share my spirit guide's name, but I had to actually, strange if you see me pause, it's because I'm asking if I can. They showed me a picture of someone with their name, and I kept spelling it the wrong way. And it popped up. We got a random piece of mail with the correct way to spell their name. And I just kept like, that piece of mail would show up in the most random places. And finally, I was like, is this how you spell your name? And it was just like images like in my head of like fireworks. Like they send me things that just it's so strange, and they're so minimal and so minor. And that's the reason why I think a lot of people may be getting a lot more from their spirit guides than they realize. Even people, you have to look at the silver linings. You have to look at the smallest things. You have to do your shadow work. Because the biggest part of me reaching my spirit guides and being able to tap into my psychic ability, with being a psychic, with mediumship, with life coach, those types of things, is I worked on myself enough to believe in myself enough to know that I am capable. I finally was okay with just being who I was, with forgiving myself for everything I had done, understanding that I am human. And these things may seem minor to you. They may not seem like what you would want or what you would expect, but that's not what this is about. It's not about what you want. It's not about what you expect. It's about kind of being a detective sometimes and paying close attention. Spirituality and psychology go hand in hand. Spirituality and science go hand in hand. If you pay attention, like astrology's been studied for as long as almost humans have been alive. As long as humans could see stars, they were studying them and figuring things out. And if you study astrology, you will see it is based on science just as much as it's based on magic and love and light and all these other things. It's there to show us things. And humans, we only use so much of our brain. What do you think the other part is meant for? So I want to finish this up by saying, you may think I'm out there. That's okay. But I want to share myself with you, and I want to share things like this with you because I want to find the kindred souls. I want to find the ones that want to know this and want to heal and want to be better, and those types of things. And I don't care if you subscribe to a religion, you don't, you're spiritual, whatever. I'm here for you. As a spiritual practitioner, I'm here for everyone as long as they're here for love and light, right? Those things are the only things that I require. And those are the only things that truly matter. As long as we're always reaching to be better in our higher selves and the best version of ourselves, at the end of the day, that's all we can really do. With that being said, if you guys have any questions, I know it's hard to talk about because, to be honest, I don't want to say I've never shared it with anyone, but even my best friend today, she was like, I don't think you've ever even told me that. And it's just because it's so personal and it feels weird. And I know I'm missing details, but it's kind of my first time talking about it. So I wanted to, I guess, share it with the world. I love you guys. Ask questions. I'm here.